Life is so strange when you don't know how can you tell where you're going to.
Thanks for joining. My name is Dave Miller. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. Now I hope you're having a festive, safe, and joyous happy holiday season. Whether you're listening to this program before Christmas, during, or just after Christmas on that long slide towards New Year's. Now, having done my Christmas show last week, and this show being released on December the 23rd, 2017, I didn't want to get into anything heavy for this week. And as those who listen to my Christmas show know, in that one I featured stories from the heart of America. And not wanting the East and West Coasts to be left out, I decided to do some different stories this time, and I decided to feature the East and West Coasts, because the elites on those coasts think that they are so important. That, of course, is not aimed at the good people that live on those coasts, but we all know how the hoity-toity celebra-punks and the self-entitled on these coasts feel about the rest of the nation. So I decided to feature stories from these areas of the United States of America that are on the strange side, a bit odd, even a bit weird. We're going to start with the state of Hawaii and a story called Justice with a side of vocabulary. And this story comes from the Maui News, dated October the 30th, 2017. Darren Young, age 30, of Kauai, Hawaii, will need a good dictionary and thesaurus for the task ahead of him. On October the 27th, Second Circuit Judge Rhonda Liu sentenced Young, who violated a protection order taken out by his ex-girlfriend, to the tune of 144 calls and texts, to write down 144 nice things about his ex, without repeating any words. For every nasty thing you said about her, you're going to say a nice thing, Liu commanded. The Maui News reported that Liu also meted out 2 years probation, a $2,400 fine, and 200 hours of community service. Now on to California, and a story called The Weird Apocalypse. Now this one comes from the Orange County Register, dated September the 21st, 2017. Cable television viewers in Orange County, California, were stunned on the morning of September the 21st when an ominous message, accompanied by an emergency alert banner, flashed on the screen. At increased volume, a man's voice boomed, "Realize this. Extremely violent times will come," said viewer Stacy Laflamme of Lake Forest, who was watching HGTV on the Cox Communications cable system. Spectrum customers also received the alert. The warning seemed especially timely, given that doomsday writer David Meade had predicted the end of the world, quote, "as we know it," unquote, to occur 2 days later. Laflamme told the Orange County Register the message sounded like a radio broadcast coming through the television. Dennis Johnson, a spokesman for Spectrum, said, "We have confirmed that we were fed an incorrect audio file, but neither company could confirm where the audio came from." Next we have the great state of Oregon. Under Bright Ideas, this comes from the Oregonian from July the 15th, 2017. Alana Nicole Donahue, age 27, of Springfield, Oregon, just wanted to entertain her children and nephew with a joyride around the neighborhood. But on July the 12th, as she pulled the kids, ages 2, 4, and 8, behind her Ford Taurus in a plastic red wagon, she was arrested for reckless endangerment. Donahue told police she was just showing the kids a good time. Horrified witnesses saw the car going about 30 miles per hour as the wagon went up on 2 wheels going around a busy traffic circle at rush hour. And some people say gun owners should be licensed and be forced to take safety awareness courses. Now on to the state of Washington. And a story from the Daily World from August the 22nd, 2017, that could be called What We'll Do for Love. The Daily World in Centralia, Washington reported that Rachel A. Deckert, age 27, tried to turn herself in at the Lewis County Jail on an outstanding DUI warrant on August the 21st, but was turned away because she brought along her partner, literally glued to Deckert by her pinky finger. When Deckert tried again the next day, still attached to her partner, police and firefighters were called. The two women were attached by a copper elbow pipe into which they had each inserted a pinky finger secured with, quote, some kind of epoxy, end quote, a firefighter said. They told authorities they had been that way about a week at the suggestion of a couple's therapy counselor. They haven't been able to feel their fingers for 3 days, said Police Detective Patty Finch. Efforts to separate the women were unsuccessful, and Deckert was released with advice to seek medical attention. Finally, for the West Coast, we go to the Fairbanks Daily News Miner for November the 8th, 2017, for a story some might call Speed Demon. Rondell Tony Chinook, age 32, of Anchorage, Alaska, had the pedal to the metal on November the 7th when he nicked a motorized shopping cart from a Safeway store in Fairbanks. But the battery-operated Mart cart tops out at 1.9 miles per hour, so even after a 10-minute joyride, he had barely left the parking lot. The Fairbanks Daily News Miner reported Chinook was charged with felony second-degree theft. Now let's swing over to the East Coast, where we find a story posted by UPI on November the 10th, 2017, that might be called Left at the Polls. Poll workers at Merrill Auditorium in Portland, Maine, made an unusual discovery on Election Day. Someone had left behind a plastic bag with a complete set of dentures inside. UPI reported that the dental prosthetics were removed to the Portland City Clerk's office, where they await retrieval by their, presumably, toothless voter. And in New Hampshire, the New York Times reports on October the 13th, 2017, a story that might be called It's Good to Have Goals. Alicia Orrock of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, will head to Las Vegas in February to compete for the $10,000 prize in the National Grocers Association 2018 Best Bagger Contest, reports the New York Times. Orrock, who recently won the New Hampshire competition, is a teacher who moonlights at a Hannaford's supermarket. Competitors are judged at multiple skills, including speed, weight distribution, appearance, and technique. Now on to Massachusetts, and a story from MassLive.com, updated October the 28th, 2013. The goats are gone, but Alan Griffin of Agawam vows he will fight to bring them back. And this is by Patrick Johnson. Agawam. The ongoing saga of Alan J. Griffin and his goats will continue, and although Griffin is for now complying with a court order to remove the goats from his 104 North Street property, he said Monday he is not done fighting. Griffin removed the goats from his property on Saturday, just 1 day before a court order was to kick in and give Agawam permission to have the goats forcibly removed. Griffin said he was expecting town officials to be at his door Monday morning, but the deadline came and passed without incident. They never showed up, he said. By Monday afternoon, Griffin was vowing he would bring the goats back in defiance of the court order. He also said he intended to file his own lawsuit against the town within the next few weeks. It's my turn to go after them, he said. The 10 goats were moved to an undisclosed location 16 miles away on Sunday, he said. He said he planned to bring them back, initially saying they would return on Tuesday, but then modifying it to say by the end of the week or next week. The dispute between Agawam and Griffin over his goats began in 2006. He maintains he needs the goats on his property for the milk, which his wife needs for medical reasons. Suzanne Griffin suffers from irritable bowel syndrome, and drinking raw goat milk helps with her condition, Griffin has said. Agawam contends keeping goats on the property is in violation of town zoning bylaws. A Hampton Housing Court judge ruled on October the 14th that Griffin had to remove the goats by October the 27th. Days before that ruling, U.S. District Court Judge Michael A. Ponser in Springfield dismissed a lawsuit filed by Griffin and his wife that alleged the town of Agawam violated their civil rights and discriminated against them. Griffin still has to milk the goats daily for his wife's needs. He said the time and gasoline spent driving to and from the goats is an unnecessary hardship for him and his wife. 16 miles up and 16 miles back is expensive, he said. It's a bunch of bull, he said. It's nonsense what they did. When they told me to remove the goats out of here, it messed up my wife's health. Griffin, age 60, who is himself dealing with colon cancer, said the stress from the ongoing litigation is taking a toll on his health. I'm getting sicker and sicker from the stress, he said. Patrick M. Toney, associate solicitor for the town of Agawam, said he could not comment on the status of the case because it remains in litigation. The court order gave the town permission to remove the goats from Griffin's property on Monday or at any time afterward. For now, Griffin is in compliance with the order, but if he brings the goats back, the terms of the order would still be in effect, and the town would have the authority to remove them. Tony declined to comment about what the town would do if Griffin brings the goats back. Next we hit Rhode Island, and a story that could be called Awesome. And this is out of NBC News for the 30th of July, 2017. And I have to say, folks, this is one of my favorites. Here we go. 2 Subway sandwich shop workers in Coventry, Rhode Island, frustrated a potential robber on July the 25th by acting like teenagers, ignoring his demands for money until he finally gave up and left the store. Police told the local news station that the robber, caught on security cameras, looked exasperated and mumbled something under his breath as he walked out of the business. Finally, a practical use for that fog so many teenagers seem to be in while they're looking at their phones. And in Connecticut, a story from ctnews.com by Daniel Teffer, filed on February the 3rd, 2015, with the headline, Stripper Got Small Tips. And it's not what you think, folks. Bridgeport. A stripper at a local club, unhappy because she couldn't keep her tips up. That's tips, people. Trashed the bar and assaulted patrons, police said. Francis Rodriguez, age 29, of Norwalk, was charged with assault on a police officer, interfering with an officer, breach of peace, criminal mischief, and third-degree assault. She was later released after posting $25,000 bond. Police said they were dispatched to Ruby 2 on Fairfield Avenue early Saturday. Bar employees told police Rodriguez had become aggressive towards customers after not receiving tips and began throwing bottles around. Police said Rodriguez kicked the bar's bouncer in the groin and spit in officers' faces when they tried to handcuff her. When they got her into a police car, they said she began screaming and kicking the windows, saying she was going to have someone shoot her boss for throwing her out of the bar. Remember that old saying, fellas, gratuities gratefully accepted. Never to be left out is the state of New York. And this story from WHAM-TV, dated October the 24th, 2017, and one some might call a beautiful mess. A Henrietta, New York gifts and oddities store earned its name on October the 24th when a garbage truck rolled between two gas pumps and across a road to crash into the 200-year-old building where the store had opened in June. Jerry Flack, owner of A Beautiful Mess, told WHAM-TV that her building is wrecked in the front so bad that I can't open back up. Witnesses say a truck driver pulled into a spot at a Sunoco station across the street and got out to use the restroom. That's when the truck rolled away and barreled into the business. Sunoco employee T.J. Rauber said, "I see a lot of crazy stuff up here, but I ain't never seen nothing like that." Now we move to the ever-fun state of New Jersey, and a story from LawStreetMedia.com by Ashley Shaw, dated July the 31st, 2015, with the headline, New Jersey News. Stolen underwear, police chase, and a man who lived under a bed. Jason Hubbard of Spotswood, New Jersey, decided that a great place to hang out would be in the spare room of his ex-girlfriend's family home under the bed where she used to stay. Presumably she did not stay under the bed. Now he was savvy enough to realize that if he asked permission to make his home under there, he might be asked to leave. They say you should never ask permission, just forgiveness after you are caught. That is what Hubbard did here. He just waited until someone left the door open to take out the trash, waltzed right in and got under the bed. There he stayed hidden, probably in order to win the world's hide-and-seek record, for 3 days before he finally messed up. It's a hider's job to stay as silent as possible. Hubbard finally made a noise loud enough to get him caught on the 3rd day, and police were summoned. What was he doing to pass the time he hid there? For starters, he was charging his 4 cell phones. And because we like New Jersey so much, the police recently had a fun time chasing a man in a van from New Jersey to Philadelphia to New Jersey to Philadelphia before a police car finally bumped the van and caused it to flip. Why was this? It happened because the man, John Ritter, had been spotted shoplifting $21 worth of underwear from a Brooklawn, New Jersey supermarket. Basically, Ritter spent July 9th stealing a pack of underwear and a pack of T-shirts from a supermarket before shoving a security guard. He escaped, but there was a warrant out for his arrest. Also, there was another warrant out for him for stalking charges. Honestly, folks, this part of the story shocked me. Well, maybe not. To continue. On Monday, an officer saw Ritter chilling in his van, so the cop went after the Rain Man of robbers. Ritter fled back and forth from Jersey to Philly until he was finally caught. One good thing came out of this story, though. If you have to be taken into custody and strip-searched, how embarrassing it would be if it happened when you were wearing old underwear. Good thing for Ritter, he was prepared with his brand new supermarket pair. And speaking of good old PA, here's a story from the Associated Press, dated November the 8th, 2017, and it could be called Voting Woes. Douglas Aaron Shuttlesworth, age 34, was simply trying to exercise his civic duty when he reported to an elementary school in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to vote on Monday, November the 6th, the day before Election Day. Susquehanna Township Police arrested Shuttlesworth for DUI after he appeared at the school intoxicated and admitted he had driven there to vote. The Associated Press reported that Shuttleworth's mother elucidated, her son thought it was Tuesday. Well, there, folks, is yet another reason that Hillary Clinton lost the election. Humans don't seem to be the only ones with woes, as we find out in this story from CBS Philly, filed July the 19th, 2017. A security robot named Steve suffered a soggy, fatal error on July the 17th when it tumbled down several steps and into a fountain in Washington, D.C. New to the job, the robot had been patrolling the Washington Harbor area of Georgetown, mapping out its features in an effort to prevent just such an accident. "He looked so happy and healthy," an area mourner tweeted after the incident. Another observer was less sympathetic. "Robots 0, humans 1, he tweeted. And from Maryland, a story dubbed The Aristocrats, published by the Washington Post on February the 14th, 2017, and WTOP Radio, Washington, on February the 17th, 2017. Wild Maryland. Prince George's County Police Officer James Sims, age 30, pleaded guilty to 4 counts of misdemeanor visual surveillance with prurient interest, and in February was sentenced to probation, though his termination investigation was still ongoing. His 4th event, said prosecutors, in a Sports Authority store, was taking an upskirt photo of a woman who, as Sims discovered, was also a cop. And a Worcester County, Maryland judge fined Ellis Rollins $1,000 in February and gave him a suspended sentence for the June 2016 ostentatious nude dancing and sex with his wife at an Ocean City, Maryland hotel window in view of other people on vacation. At the time, Rollins was the Cecil County, Maryland state's attorney, but has since resigned. Now to Delaware, and a story from PublicOpinionOnline.com, dated December the 1st, 2017. And this, by Reed Shelton, could be a tragedy for those of us who like our burgers. The headline: "This tick bite can cause a lifelong allergy to red meat." Ocean View, Delaware. Kimberly Cullen felt something crawling on her rib cage this summer, realized it was a tick, and quickly plucked it off her skin. She had been doing yard work outside her Ocean View home, and like most residents of the Delaware Peninsula, Cullen gave little thought to the Lone Star tick, abundant in the region's forests, ditches, and tall grasses. A week later, Cullen learned that the tick may have forever changed her life. Her nephew was visiting from Florida, and Cullen made pasta with meat sauce. After falling asleep during a movie, she awoke hours later to a burning sensation. Her head was on fire, Cullen said. "I went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and I was covered in hives," she said. "The itching was unbelievable, and I started having some shortness of breath." Cullen had acquired an allergy to red meat from the bite of a Lone Star tick, named for the single white spot it displays on its back. This arachnid has steadily increased its range from the southeast and now covers nearly half the United States, from Texas north to Wisconsin and east from New England down the east coast to Florida, according to field experts and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It is pervasive in thick underbrush, where white-tailed deer, their primary host, thrive. Lone Star ticks are thick among the eastern shore of Maryland, southeast Delaware, and parts of Pennsylvania and Virginia. When you run into them, there could be hundreds and hundreds of them, said Vince D'Amico, an urban forest ecologist with the U.S. Forest Service, stationed at the University of Delaware. They swarm really fast, and if you stand in an area where they are, they get onto you much more quickly than deer ticks. Lone Star ticks move faster than other ticks common to the mid-Atlantic, withstand drier conditions, and are considered more aggressive in getting to a host than other common ticks, he said. D'Amico has had experience in the field where he was covered in Lone Star ticks, but he's been spared the associated red meat allergy. Scientists are uncertain why the allergy to a particular carbohydrate found in red meat afflicts some people bitten by the tick and not others. The reaction is essentially the body's immune system attacking itself, and it's apparently triggered by a molecule known as alpha-gal, which exists in most mammals. Essentially, this carbohydrate gets into your body in a weird way, through an injection from the tick rather than through meat you've eaten, and your body mounts an immune response to it, D'Amico said of the leading theory. Lone Star tick bites cause a spike in antibodies to alpha-gal, but scientists say that alone isn't enough to say conclusively that the tick bites cause the meat allergy. Whatever the reason for her outbreak, Cullen's reaction was intense. A high dose of antihistamines didn't provide relief from hives, itching, and shortness of breath. Cullen called 911 and was briefly hospitalized for anaphylactic shock, a serious allergic reaction from foods, insect stings, and medication that in some cases can be life-threatening. Doctors didn't initially diagnose her symptoms as a meat allergy from a Lone Star tick. She went out of town and endured 2 more episodes after having dinners with red meat. First following a bridal shower, then a more severe attack after having a steak dinner in Pennsylvania. On her drive back to Ocean View, she again was covered in hives. My hand swelled up like a balloon so I could barely grip the steering wheel, she said. Cullen again was hospitalized, this time for several days. An allergist told her that for an indeterminate amount of time, perhaps years, she would be stuck with the allergy. Red meat would have to be stricken from her diet. This allergy has only been in the scientific spotlight since about 2009, according to D'Amico. Perhaps most troubling, according to Dr. Kurt Watkins of Pennsylvania Allergy and Asthma Associates, is that the allergy can last years and even decades, and there's no known treatment for it. The medical group has offices in Salisbury, Maryland, and Georgetown, and Milford, Delaware. Of course, if you're bitten again by a Lone Star tick, that probably boosts it, he said. I've had a handful of people where it's faded and went away, but that's the minority. The majority seem to hold on to it for years. And while scientists are devoting efforts toward understanding the allergy, there's no particular treatment that is proving effective other than continued avoidance of red meat. And Watkins said those afflicted must be prepared for a potentially deadly reaction, anaphylactic shock. People with this allergy should absolutely carry an injectable epinephrine, which is available in generic form, Watkins said, referring to more affordable versions of the EpiPen. Cullen said since acquiring the allergy, not only is red meat off the menu, but also most foods derived from mammals, such as butter and dairy products, particularly cheese. A possible tragedy indeed for those of us who love a good thick steak. Watch those ticks, people. Now to Virginia, and a story that might be called Oops. This from Fox 6, posted July the 6th, 2017. What seemed like the best hide-and-seek idea ever took a frightening turn on July the 6th in Colonial Heights, Virginia, when a 12-year-old girl became stuck in a sleeper sofa. Another child called 911 when she couldn't free her friend. "I've never seen anything like it," said Fire Chief A.G. Moore. When she got out, she was fine. And from North Carolina, under what News of the Weird calls least competent criminals, Port City Daily reported on August 30th, 2017. Police officers in Surf City, North Carolina, stopped Zachary Kingsbury, age 20, of Linwood, Washington, on August the 30th and asked him to step out of his car because they had spotted contraband inside. Kingsbury complied, but then took off running, heading toward the beach, and couldn't stop when he hit the ocean. According to the Port City Daily, Kingsbury continued swimming for almost an hour as police tracked him with a drone-mounted camera, which allowed them also to see the shark trailing him in the water. At that point, said Surf City Police Chief Ron Shanahan, the chase became a rescue operation, and multiple emergency crews were dispatched to pick up the fugitive. Kingsbury was taken into custody in North Topsail Beach and charged with resisting arrest and possession of marijuana and methamphetamine. One has to wonder if the kid wasn't going to actually try swimming all the way around the Horn, or if he was going to go for the Panama Canal to get back home. Either way, it would have been a long swim. Now in South Carolina, a story you might call stuck. This posted by ABC News Channel 4 on July the 28th, 2017. Criminal justice student Jordan Dinsmore, age 20, of Columbia, South Carolina, had her car's manual transmission to thank for her safe escape on July the 26th. 3 men approached her around 1 a.m. and pointed a gun at her. After robbing her of her phone and purse, the men forced her into her car, threatening to kidnap and rape her. But when they realized none of them knew how to drive her stick-shift car, one of the criminals ran away. The other 2 forced Dinsmore to drive to an ATM to withdraw cash. As she drove, Dinsmore removed her seatbelt, then put the car in neutral and jumped out screaming, "Call 911, call 911," to passing motorists. The Richland County Sheriff's Department arrested a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old in the kidnapping and robbery. Sounds like these boys need to stick to looking at girly magazines instead of trying to do any real crimes. And in Georgia, one of my favorites of this show, a story posted by WSB-TV and dated October the 24th, 2017. I call this one Mirror, Mirror. About 24 car owners in the Nob Hill neighborhood of Snellville, Georgia, were perturbed in late October by what they thought was vandalism. Their cars' side mirrors were being shattered, even in broad daylight. Finally, according to WSB-TV, one resident caught the real perpetrator, a pileated woodpecker who apparently believed his reflection in the mirrors is a rival. Because pileated woodpeckers are a protected species, neighbors had to get creative with their solution. They are now placing plastic bags over their side mirrors while the cars are parked. And last but never least, when it comes to offbeat stories, is the great state of Florida, and a story I'll call Reciprocation. This was filed by T.C. Palm on November the 7th, 2017, and is another one of my favorites here. A loss prevention officer at a Vero Beach, Florida Walmart happened to catch 25-year-old Cheyenne Amber West and another woman as they carried out some complicated maneuvers in the electronics aisle on November the 6th. The officer told the Indian River County Sheriff's Office that West and her friend chose a computer, video game controllers, and other items worth a total of almost $2,000, then covered the barcodes with stickers taken from less expensive clearance items. They then moved to the self-checkout lane, where the loot totaled just $3.70. "I'm just trying to get gifts for my son that I cannot afford," West told officers. "The computer is for my husband. Since he just got me a Coach purse, I figured he deserved something nice as well." Treasure Coast Newspapers reports that West was charged with felony grand theft and felony shoplifting and was released on $3,000 bail. The other woman was not charged. And what a great way to end this trip, folks. With an act, however felonious, of love. Makes you feel good during the holidays, doesn't it? Well, that's it, people. Up one side of the country and down the other. The strange, the odd, the bizarre. We're many things in the United States of America. We're a great people. We're a generous people. We're a giving people. And God love us, we're weird people. And may you enjoy the rest of your holiday season and have a prosperous 2018. Remember, people, you can get hold of me at UBG Contact on Twitter with comments, questions, show suggestions, awesome American suggestions. It is the main contact point for the show. But I'm also Dave Milner on Facebook, the Tea Party Community and Connect with Liberty, and Amagador on Gab. And that's it for this time. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for listening, and may your God go with you. Goodbye. The Unpleasant Blind Guy is copyright 2017. Anno Domini.